talk about coaches and not getting opportunities and all this stuff. And Eric Bieniemy, we all know what he does for Andy Reid. We all know that he handles all the red zone install and play design down there in the red zone. And who's been better in the red zone the last couple of years than the Chiefs? And yet it looks like we might get to the end of another hiring cycle with Eric Bieniemy not getting an opportunity. What is being heard? What's being said regarding this issue as we look at the coaching openings in a bigger picture now?
I think most people look at it and you look at the various openings. You look at the people who have been hired. You look at the names of guys that have gotten interviews like Josh McCown. And I love Josh McCown, but he's got no business being interviewed for a head coaching job with the Texans or anyone else at the NFL level. And I think people are just kind of resigned. It's kind of like, okay, well, all right, I guess next year the window's going to open for Eric Bieniemy. I don't know what more he needs to do, though, to convince someone that he's the right guy to pair up with a quarterback, ideally a young quarterback, and mold him into a guy who will perform like Patrick Mahomes. Now, it may not be the same skill set, but you get the most out of what the guy does. You design plays that are aimed to draw out his strengths and conceal whatever weaknesses he may have. And I just don't get it. And part of me feels like, and Coach, you may know this better than anyone, I just feel like these owners don't like being told what to do. And I just feel like at some level, the more that the rest of us say Eric Bieniemy needs to be hired, the more their attitude is, we'll do what we damn well please.
Well, I don't think it's that necessarily, but everybody is looking for something. Everybody has something they're looking for. And I went through that interview process. And the thing that I learned from it is you might not be exactly what they're looking for, even though you're a good candidate. And that happened to me a couple times. I'll give you for instance, Jacksonville Jaguars, when they were starting their franchise up, Wayne Weaver interviewed me, and it was great, and it went well. And we came down to the end, and he said, I'm really looking for one person to run everything. I'm looking for that person who's going to do it all, be the coach and the GM. And I said, well, that's not me. I'm a coach. I don't want to be a GM. That's just not me. They hired Tom Coughlin, and it was a great decision for them. Tom was exactly what Wayne Weaver was looking for. The problem then comes is when people go and say, why didn't you hire Tony Dungy? And instead of saying, well, you know, he wasn't exactly what we're looking for. I didn't think he was qualified to do this, this, and this. Then they say, well, you know, we don't know. And then it becomes, well, he was not a good interview. And I heard that after, you know, a couple of mine after that Jacksonville. So, well, maybe he doesn't interview well. And that's not it at all. Sometimes it just hurts. It's hard for that person to say, you know what, we interviewed Eric Bieniemy, we liked him, but we liked something in this other guy's skill set a little more. And I think that's where Eric is right now. As a matter of fact, I had a long conversation with Rich McKay, who did a search for Atlanta and interviewed Eric Bieniemy, and he said he heard that Eric didn't interview well. He called a couple of reporters and journalists and said, let me set the record straight. Eric Bieniemy was phenomenal in the interview. I don't want to hear that, but it just wasn't what we were looking for. We liked Arthur Smith and we hired him, but don't trash Eric Bieniemy because we didn't hire him.
Tony, does that help right there? I'm sorry, Mike, where Rich McKay will get word out to other people that this narrative is not true. It wasn't a fit, and that helps quell that conversation that keeps building, quote, he doesn't interview well?
It absolutely does. And those interviews help. And I know people don't like the Rooney Rule, and they really think it's a problem when guys interview and don't get jobs, but it does help. I remember years back, Leslie Frazier, who's kind of in the cycle now. He interviewed with Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells was in Miami making the decisions. And he and Parcells had a difference of philosophy. You know, we played small guys and fast guys and built our defense on speed. And Parcells was big guys, 3-4, dominant up front, just big physical. He said, I don't know that I could play your style. But he called a few people and said, hey, Leslie Frazier is really, he's fantastic. And you need to talk to him. He's got some, didn't fit with us, but he's got some good things, and I liked him. And that helped Leslie down the road as people said, well, gosh, if Bill Parcells could recommend him, even though they didn't hire him, maybe he's somebody I need to talk to. And so, yes, when the Rich McKays and the Bill Parcells get that out there to the people in the know, it does make a difference.
Here's what I'm struggling with. First of all, how is Eric Bieniemy not what one of these teams is looking for when you consider the pipeline that's been established of Andy Reid assistants in Kansas City? Mm-hmm. Doug Peterson was what the Eagles were looking for. Same guy, same demographic, same everything, not calling the plays, involved in the play design, doing the same things that Eric Bieniemy's doing. And he got a Super Bowl win for the Eagles. Matt Nagy ended up being what the Bears were looking for. And you look at the Eagles now with Nick Sirianni. How is Sirianni who they're looking for but not Bieniemy? And you look at the Lions with Dan Campbell and biting off guys' kneecaps. How is that what the Lions are looking for and not Eric Bieniemy? That's just what confuses me. How is this guy, like whatever you think you want, how is this guy not someone that makes you say, forget about what we want, this is what we need?
Well, Mike, I look at it that way, and I kind of chuckled. I was going to write my headline. It's not Eric Bieniemy's fault. It's Andy Reid's fault. Andy Reid has lost his touch because from 2001, everybody he's hired and put in that position, we've said, gosh, this is a great guy. Andy Reid knows how to pick offensive coordinators. Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, all these guys, and even before that in Philadelphia, same thing. Brad Childress. You can go back. Everybody that Andy Reid has picked and put in that position has been fantastic. But now he doesn't know what he's doing. He picked a guy that's not very good now, in Eric Bieniemy.
A victim of their success and being in these two cycles going all the way to the Super Bowl. You know, Mike, you mentioned that point there, like the Dan Campbell hire, right? That screams to what Tony was saying of Chris Spielman was brought in as a football guy to run the search. You tell me that Dan Campbell's not a Chris Spielman type guy? So to Tony's point, may have been good, but we were looking for a certain type. You can kind of see those connections there. Not that the enemy didn't bring that, but when I was listening to the kneecap press conference, like you talked about Dan Campbell, that connected, like, okay, this guy and Chris Spielman had to connect perfectly.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.